So, guys, before I get to the news, I did hear about Rose from STL being killed. That actually happened right by where I stay at. I know you guys have probably seen me on Diversity a lot in my videos over by the Diversity projects because I do stay right off Diversity. And he got killed off Diversity just a little bit west of where I stay at in the Avondale neighborhood. I believe he was killed about a block north of Diversity. And I don't have a report on that because I mean I can report on the death obviously, but you know that's already been all over the internet, and I don't have any details about what that was about. So I don't know who killed him. I don't know what it was over or anything like that. He was a very well-known, well-loved guy in Chicago, man. People have been paying their respects. I didn't know him personally. I did have spoken with a lot of those GDs personally, Cash, Duck, TB, obviously, and then GDs on the north side too. And one thing that I just will clear up, even though you guys may have seen me in a lot of public, like, arguments, Twitter beefs, and stuff like that with a lot of these GDs, especially the guys from Rogers Park and then the guys from 63rd and St. Lawrence. Behind the scenes, these guys are really cool. I've spoken to some of these guys on the phone, like not on Instagram Live or anything, just like in private. And these guys are really cool dudes, man. Laid back, understanding. They're not the type of guys that just get on that with you just for the sake of getting on that. Like they don't have to act tough and gangster and anything like that. They understand what the bloggers are doing. They understand the kind of energy that guys put out is going to attract that attention, and they're willing to let you do your thing as long as you don't cross that line too much. So yeah, I don't hate the GDs. I know a lot of people have heard me make like apparently biased reports towards them in the past, disrespectful stuff, but that stuff is all in the past, and I don't hate any of those guys, man. So rest in peace to STL Rose, and hopefully whatever it was about will come out. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a report about that. Claimed STL, whether or not he was a GD. I know they got some other stuff with him, and I don't know, maybe some guys that just don't claim anything except just STL. But he, yeah, that was the only thing I've ever seen him claim. So I know some of those sets, though, they do have some different stuff over there. But yeah, again, if it was gang related or not, I have no idea, man. Just you guys already know, though, that being in that, claiming anything is, it shortens one's lifespan significantly. But getting on to some of the regular news of the city, we had a lot of the usual Chicago stuff going on, including more babies being shot, man. And this, I wish they would post the faces of the kids. They don't post the pictures of minors, but I think that would be a good idea to actually do that. Start posting the actual faces of these babies, just to rally the community to maybe have the same kind of energy for this that they have for a lot of other stuff that seems to get more energy when people actually see the face, and when people can see the video of the shooting and see these babies actually being shot. In humans, that evokes a more emotional, visceral reaction. So personally, I wish they would start showing the actual pictures of these babies. But anyways, a 3-year-old girl is among at least 63 people shot, 9 fatally, in weekend shootings across Chicago. The girl was one of at least 5 minors shot in Chicago over the weekend, and 20 minors shot overall in the past week. So we've had 20 kids shot in this past week in Chicago, and several of these are babies. Now, this weekend was a Mexican Independence Day parade, and that's always a very hectic time in like the downtown area. And by the way, shout out to all the Mexicans, man. For people hating on the Mexicans and downing them for celebrating their country and their culture, whatever, over here, I got to remind you guys that because most of these are other white guys that I see doing this, is that we all do this. We all used to do this, and most of us still do it. The Polish, the Italians, the Irish, the Greeks, we have our parade. Matter of fact, Raymond Lopez and some of the mayoral candidates were just over at the Polish festival. The Germans do it. We all do this. We celebrate our country and our culture here in the U.S. I used to go to the Greek one every single year. I haven't been to it the past few years. But for the people saying that they're more rowdy, they're more rowdy. I mean, I have to be objective here. They are more rowdy than most of the European groups, but not more rowdy than that Irish parade used to get, man. that parade used to get extremely rowdy. I mean, that was basically like a big drunken brawl. And I got love for the Irish. You know, I grew up around a lot of Irish guys, man. You know, so shout out to all the Irish. But I mean, it is what it is. Like anybody, you know, saying the Mexicans are the most, you know, rowdy and destructive with their parade. That Irish parade used to get pretty bad, man, on the south side over there. So just let's not be hypocritical. You know what I'm saying? We're all from another place, and we're repping our own home country hard. You know, I'm second generation, so you know, even as a second generation person, I still used to rep Greece super hard. You guys know that, and most of us do that. Now some of you guys are, you know, fifth, sixth generation, but our ancestors were all on that, man. So you know, the Mexicans are one of the more recent immigrant groups. But anyways, yeah, it is a hectic time, and it's kind of a tenuous, tense time because there's a lot of Mexican gang members in Chicago. We gotta just keep it 100, and a lot of these guys are into it with each other, and they meet up in that downtown area. And we've seen some neutrons killed over this in recent years. So it wasn't, I would say, as bad as in some of the previous years, but you know, the downtown area was still gridlocked, but. Anyways, so 63 people were shot though overall in the weekend. Like I said, a lot of those kids. Now this little girl, this 3-year-old girl, she was a passenger in the back seat of a vehicle at about 11 p.m. in the 4200 block of West Cermak. So that's over by like about 2 blocks west of Pulaski off Cermak. When gunfire shattered the back window and grazed her in the head. According to Chicago police, she was taken to the hospital where she was listed in good condition, thank goodness. Hours earlier, a 10-year-old boy was hospitalized after being shot while walking on a south side sidewalk with his father on Friday night. Around 8:40 p.m., the boy was walking with his father and another man and another kid over on 93rd in the Burnside neighborhood when somebody in a red sedan fired shots at the group. And the boy suffered a gunshot wound to the leg, and he's in good condition. So, again, they fire at this group. It's not likely that the kid was the target, and yet he was the only one hit. So I don't know what this was gang related or what, but the kid was the only one shot, which is typical for the shooters in Chicago, man. A teen girl was also shot on the city's south side early Sunday morning. This happened in the back of the yards neighborhood, which, if you guys saw my video on the GTSN, former GTSN member. He wasn't a member at the time that he got killed. But that one, you know, back of the yards is a very violent neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. Not a neighborhood I recommend living in. It's a mixed Latino and black community, but it's not like there's Latinos and blacks living all mixed in on the same blocks. It kind of stops. The Latino section kind of stops. And then as you get toward the southern part, I believe it turns black. But similar to Humboldt Park. But the 14-year-old girl was a passenger in a vehicle, and she was shot in the arm, and she's in good condition. So thankfully, none of these kids were killed or seriously injured by this stuff, man. But Friday afternoon, a boy who was 16 was inside of a vehicle over on Wellington. And again, this is not too far from actually where STL Rose was killed, because Wellington is only about 2 blocks to the north of Diversey, and Rose was killed over on 2900. So that was only about a block east of this. And he was shot in the leg, and he's in good condition too. So early Saturday, another 16-year-old boy was dropped off at the hospital with a gunshot wound to the left leg. I don't know where that happened, and he was in good condition. And then a person was shot and killed in Dearborn Park. It was an unknown male. He was standing on the sidewalk with a large group when shots were fired at the group. The victim was shot in the face and chest, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. So later that morning, one man died, another was injured in a Brighton Park shooting on Sunday. Now, Brighton Park, that was a neighborhood that was seeing a lot of action like a couple years ago. This year, it hasn't been as hot from what I've been seeing as in recent years. But there were 2 victims, 18 and 19. They were over on 36 and Kedzie at about 2:45 a.m., which is a really bad time to be out. Somebody in a gray Jeep fired shots, and both one of them was pronounced dead. The 18-year-old was pronounced dead. He was shot in the neck, and the 19-year-old was shot in the foot, and he's good. Then on Saturday, a man was killed, another critically injured in Roseland, down in the hundreds. The 2 men were on a front porch over on 113th at around 10:45 p.m. I'm sorry, 10:15 p.m. Shots rang out. One guy was hit. He was 32. He did not survive. He was shot in the back and head. And a 27-year-old man was also brought to the hospital in critical. Another person was killed on 71st, and that's been a really hot street lately. 71st has been almost as hot as the 9 lately, man. But this was over by the 1300 block of East 71st in Grand Crossing, and this was in an alley. This just before 8 p.m. He was just found dead over there. And there were several other shootings, but there was more action in the downtown area. A man was assaulted and shot in the Loop early Saturday, just after 1 a.m. A 27-year-old man was walking on the sidewalk over on Wacker Drive when a group of people approached him and began to beat him. Somebody in the group then pulled out a gun and shot him. The victim was taken to the hospital with a gunshot wound to the head, and he was in good condition after being shot in the head. So another man was wounded in the shooting early Saturday in the Loop. He was involved in a fight with another man also on Wacker. When somebody in a red sedan approached the pair and opened fire, the man was shot in the back, and he's in good condition too. So minutes later, 2 men were shot in a drive-by early Saturday during a house party in Back of the Yards. And I ain't going to no house parties really nowhere in Chicago, man, but Back of the Yards especially. 32 and 22, they were standing outside among a group of people at about 1:10 a.m. And an SUV drove by and somebody opened fire. The older man was struck in the right shoulder and back, and he's stabilized. The younger man was shot in the lower leg, and he's good. Then, guys, we had another drive-by at a funeral. And 3 men are now recovering after being shot in this drive-by, and this was on the south side over on 47th at the Christian Tabernacle Church. That's off of Prairie. Police say the men were standing near the street when a car pulled up and somebody inside started the shooting. The men who were shot are all expected to be okay. Now, there was another downtown shooting. A restaurant worker was injured in a drive-by in the Loop. A 34-year-old victim was standing on the sidewalk over on Hubbard outside of the Aberdeen Tap around midnight when somebody in a white Durango started shooting towards the restaurant. The victim was hit in the leg, and he's in good condition. This following murder was a double homicide, and this was on 61st and Evans. There was also 2 others wounded with them in this shooting, I believe. The victims were on a porch over on 61st when an offender exited a dark blue Chevy Impala and fired shots. A 31-year-old man was shot several times in the body. He was pronounced dead. A 35-year-old man was also shot multiple times in the body. He was in critical. The third victim was a man who was 19. I'm going to put up their pictures here. And then there was another man in his 20s or 30s, and he was shot in the body. So far in September, we've had 24 people killed in gun violence. It's over a person per day. And a lot of residents are upset. There's a lot of pressure on the police chief and the mayor right now. But, I mean, you guys know what it is. We can't wait on anything. We got to prepare personally and, you know, be smooth and stay off of those hot blocks. And, you know, we know which blocks those are because it's usually the same blocks again and again. The house parties are a big no-no. You know, walking with known gang members is a big no-no. If you are a known gang member, bringing your kids with you is a form of child abuse, okay? Endangering their safety when you're walking out in public or driving in public. So if people take these common sense solutions, you know, we might not be able to fix the city and call off everybody that's out there doing this bullcrap, but it can at least, you know, save a few. And if we can save a few, it's worth it. That's all we can do. You know what I'm saying? Because the killers, can't wait on them to just have a change of heart. Like we just can't wait on that, and we can't wait on you know, the city government and them to shut it down. I'm not pointing fingers at them or blaming them. They got a very difficult job, but we just can't wait. You know, the kids can't wait. It's up to the adults to make the right moves so those kids don't end up in that crossfire. Your boy Winnie City Report. I'm out.